streams have been leading up to it. So if you're new here, if this is the first time you've seen anything related to mental health, or with my streams, or this is the first time you're chatting, hey, welcome, welcome. My name is Jason, and this is the Outstanding Life Show. We talk about all things related to mental health, and we have a different kind of a spin on things when it comes to recovery or mindfulness. And tying it all together can be challenging. Be it starting the path of recovery, like that was a huge weight for me to manage on my own. I really didn't have any clear, coherent sense as to what to do or how to progress or how to navigate my way forward. So when I started this path on my own, without having any clear direction, I knew I wanted a better life. Like I knew I wanted something more. I wanted something greater than just my addiction. I wanted something more transparent than the life I was living. Because I really wasn't having a heartfelt, I really didn't feel like I was connected with anything. I felt like I was spinning out of control. And when it comes to self mastery, I really didn't have that in my addiction. I really didn't have that sense of even a solid foundation. So when I flash back and I think of who I was 8, 10 years ago, that's not the same person that I feel like I am today. I feel I'm much more of a solid foundation. I feel like I've got more, I don't want to say more going for me, but through habits of practice, through habits of belief, through shifting my approach to difficult situations, I've been able to help find, I don't want to say like I've been able to help find bliss, but I've been able to help move my life from this like the gutter. If you're watching the video, you can see my hands as I clench them down, and you can hear it in my voice where I'm clenching down where I was in my life before adopting any self mastery principles. In the heat of my addiction, in the heat of like my life falling apart, I wasn't able to achieve any of that without having some sense of self mastery. And that came from a million tiny mistakes. That came from a million challenges or a million inner conflicts, is a better way to phrase it. When everything is new, when everything was starting out, everything has to change. So when I was flashing back to my early recovery, I didn't know where to start. When I reached out for help, when I reached out and I got that support, when I admitted that I had a problem, when a habit became a problem and I got that support, I was able to help start paving the way towards self-mastery. I didn't achieve it overnight. Like just identifying that I had a problem isn't enough to move me into that 100% absolute self-mastery. No, it's like a muscle. It's something I have to practice, and I still continue to practice today, where I do admit that I have to come to terms with that in my ego, where I'm able to separate myself, separate my ego, look beyond the challenge that I'm facing, and admit that I've bitten off more than I can chew, or I'm in a situation that's outside of my comfort level, and I can tap out and I can reach out for help. I can reach out and say, hey, you know what? I'm not feeling 100% with this, or hey, you know what? My addictions have gotten the better of me, and I'm not able to keep going. I don't know what to do, but I want to change. So when I reached that point, when I crossed that level, I was now in a position where I can start entertaining what self mastery is. I can move forward in a light that's much more fulfilling rather than fear. Like fearful living is not really living. White knuckling my way through life is not a good way to move forward. That's not how life was intended to be. That's not how things are going to transpire. That's not what I want my life to become. So when I reached out for help, when I got that extra assistance I needed, I was now able to move forward in a direction of progress. I was now able to get that help and support I need. I was now able to start appreciating what I came to know as my higher power. When I came to start attending meetings and going to groups and consistently, I want to say habitually, forming a solid foundation where I can trust and I can believe in myself. I can form good habits, eating healthy, forming a supportive community. These are all important when it comes to success. These are, I mean, those are generally important anyways, but when it comes to tackling the sensitive topic about adversity, about challenges, when it comes to battling that mental health, it's too easy to give up. It's too easy to throw in the towel. It's too easy to admit defeat, something I had done time and time again. And I wasn't in a position to fully appreciate what that was. I didn't appreciate how much support I had in the treatment center when I was there until I had completed treatment and I left that safety bubble, that safety net, and is living with 50 guys, living with others who are also on the journey. It was an experience to help pave the way, to see each of us are on our own struggle and each of us are fighting our own battles. And we're not able to do that. We're not able to succeed if we're not helping each other. One of the steps in the 12-step recovery program is in the AA is there's always the 12th step where you contribute and you help and you assist others as they progress through their challenges. Once I was in a position to complete my program, I feel that wasn't completing my self-mastery portion. Like I never really feel like I've completed it, but I feel that paved the way. That, I mean, I've referenced that as paving, as if it was laying foundation, as if it was building a new life, building something more than just what I had. In believing that there's something more, getting the support I needed, and consistently, I want to say, like trapping my ego, like getting rid of my ego, removing that from my daily life, that created room for mindfulness to grow. That gave me room and the capacity where I could flourish and I could fill my life with the people, places, and things that do add value. By removing alcohol and other drugs, that's always a shocker. But when you fill it with support, when you fill it with kindness, when you fill it with gratitude, these are all things we've talked about before in previous videos, but these are all micro shifts, like micro changes that add up. You know, if it's something small, like it's 1% of a shift and another one is 3% and another one is 7%, you know, these small tiny shifts add up into a large chunk until pretty soon you're making a 20% jump in the right direction. Am I 100% on the right direction? Maybe not. Maybe not on day one. Maybe not on day 2 or week 9. Maybe it's going to take me a few years. And it did take a lot of continuous progress, chipping away at that 1%, consistently showing up, consistently changing, growing, being curious about myself, my steps, my progress, my ego, I want to call it my inequities. Like we always have our shortcomings, and those are continuous. Those are always going to be part of our life. I'm not perfect, and my ego is always present in my life, but it doesn't mean that my ego has to make decisions for me. It doesn't mean that I have to choose to live in an ego-driven world. One of the things that I appreciate the most about my recovery, about what I've learned in my 12-step program, is I can choose to live a gratitude-first life. And what I mean by that is I can choose to have gratitude start my day. I can have a gratitude list. If I don't even have one, if I don't even have anything to be grateful for, in the beginning, it's always tough because I don't know what I'm going to be grateful for at the end of the day. But what I can do is I can start my day in saying, here's the 3 things that I'm looking forward to the most. Here's the three things that I'm grateful for that have already happened. Here's the three things that I'm grateful for right now. And it sounds silly. Maybe it's I'm grateful for my cat who's sleeping. I don't know. Maybe I'm grateful for the warmth of the fake TV fire on the back. I don't know. Like maybe I can find things to be grateful for until pretty soon that gratitude list, if I document it, if I keep track of it, I can build that gratitude list and becoming something more than just small, tiny things like a TV or warmth or food. Pretty soon, I'm going to start building that gratitude list to flesh it out. It's now going to become, I'm grateful that I'm able to help provide for myself despite the craziness that's going on outside. And I'm grateful that I'm able to keep working. And I'm grateful that I'm able to help contribute. I'm grateful that I'm able to help find self-worth through continually showing up for you, my community. Maybe I'm able to help find gratitude in the small, tiny things. And maybe those include big things too. But through the continuous documenting what gratitude means, and I'm able to help, it's fun when I go back and I look, like, what was I grateful for a year ago compared to what was I grateful for 2 years ago or 5 years ago? When I was in my early recovery, I was just grateful for getting through the day when I thought my world was going to end. And I thought my friends and family would reject me. And I felt like nobody would care for somebody that's an addict, and nobody would take the time to trust somebody that's an alcoholic. These are twisting thoughts where I lived in those moments with those decisions and those fears and that anger. It would live in me and breathe. If I let it sit there, it will grow. And I can choose to let it grow, or I can start to shift that, and I can start practicing self-mastery by choosing a better life, by filling my life with the people, places, and things that do contribute to my growth, that want me to grow. And that means removing things that are not adding value. That means drawing the line in the sand and saying no more. Maybe that means maybe that means I needed to shift careers, or maybe that means I need to leave a bad relationship, or maybe that means I need to make new friendships. I don't know what that means, but I know the practice of self-mastery. And this is where I started to shift away from me, and moving away from that selfishness. And I started looking for things that would, when I remember I went to this Tony Robbins event. It's one of those ones where you like walk across fire, like you see it on TV and like on YouTube and stuff. And then I attended one of his events and we walked across the fire, and it was really enriching, but it was also eye-opening. The things I thought were adding value to my life were not the things that I was fulfilling my life with. And as soon as I started to shift what those things are, once I started removing and kicking out all the things not adding value, I was able to have the room. We mentioned earlier about having the capacity to grow. And by removing a lot of the things that were not adding value, I found through this Tony Robbins exercise, I was able to appreciate that growth and contribution were the most rewarding parts of my life. As long as I'm continually growing and as long as I'm continually contributing, that put me in a position of gratitude. That put me in a position where I would want to strive for more. It's very different than, say, my ego, which wanted certainty and significance. And while these things are appreciative, like I can appreciate that wanting to be certain, and I can appreciate wanting significance, but I'm not going to gain significance through just absorbing. Like I'm just usurping. If I'm just soaking and taking, I'm never giving, I'm never going to feel that sense of reward, of contribution. This was the shift where I wouldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't through the tiny micro changes. If it wasn't for taking those micro changes earlier on, I wouldn't have made the decision to go to the Tony Robbins event. And if I didn't go to the Tony Robbins event, I'm sure I would have eventually come to these ideas later on, but I couldn't have done it without making these tiny changes along the way. So is self-mastery something that I arrive at? Or is self-mastery something that is continually happening every day? I fully believe that I can never really achieve self-mastery, but I do believe that self-mastery is something that every day I'm working on, be it the tiny micro changes, or maybe it's life-altering decisions. Self-mastery is a part of it. And so when I think of self-mastery, when I think of why it's important to me, I look at where my life was years ago in the heat of my addiction, and I look at where I am now. When I start to feel down, when I start to feel sad, when I start feeling those hungry, angry, lonely, and tired, those emotions we've talked about before, as soon as I feel those hungry, angry, lonely, tired, I start to, the chickadee check myself before I wreck myself. I focus on what part of me is feeling that emotion, what part of me is, if I can identify where that emotion is coming from, I can help pave a better tomorrow by identifying why I'm feeling that emotion today. That doesn't change the emotion in itself. We've talked before about we talked before about happiness by itself doesn't change anything. Being positive that I'm broke doesn't make me any less broke. I'm going to have to want to do something about it. I'm going to have to move forward in some positive direction into something much more constructive. If I'm upset about something, what part of me is feeling upset? So identifying my emotions and mapping out my experiences. Yes, those experiences are going to happen, but those experiences don't have to drive my decision-making process. I don't have to live in a knee-jerk response world. I don't need my ego to drive me into any more trouble than I already did get in. What I can start to live my life with is that sense of gratitude, that sense of inner candle flame we talked about. While it never flickers despite the craziness, I can start to practice daily patience and daily peace. If you've watched the shows, these episodes in the past, you've heard me talk about the Calm.com app, where I have the daily meditations where they have small 10 minute micro meditations. If you can think of if you can think about it, there's a meditation about it. So Calm.com is a great resource. I'm really appreciating having that sense where if I'm feeling an emotion and I notice that I'm getting anxious, or if I have the spider senses where I notice that I'm getting angry, or if I can sense my ego creeping up, then I'm able to stop, to take a minute and say stop, take a step back, practice self-mastery, appreciate the moment for what it is, identify what part of me is feeling that, and then maybe start asking questions. What can I do to help mitigate this in the future? And what can I do to help change the narrative? And I'm not saying change my perspective to change my life. Maybe I can ask myself larger questions. So if I'm in a conversation with somebody and they're let's say they're angry at me, did I do anything that caused them to be angry? And what can I do to help prevent that in the future? Maybe I need to be more transparent in the future. Maybe I need to be less ego-driven. Maybe that means owning up to responsibilities or being forthcoming. Is there any, even if it's, let's say there's in 100%, and if you imagine there's a conversation between two people, and let's say it's 99% their fault while we're having the conversation, and there's 1% mine, I can own up to that 1%. That's what I mean, where if there's any ounce of ownership, maybe I need to practice that, even in the smallest sense. It doesn't need to be an argument. It doesn't need to be a difficult conversation. We can still have a conversation and have it still be rewarding. It can still be a growth opportunity. So when it comes to self-mastery, when it comes to diving into why it's important to me, all of these tiny changes are cumulative and they add up to an outstanding, fulfilling life. So when I think back of the enriching experiences that I've been able to walk away with, like the Tony Robbins event, like changing careers, moving to a different place, starting a whole new life, getting a fulfilling, heartfelt connection with my friends. And despite the craziness that's out there, despite how challenging it's been in the past 12 months, I can feel assured that come what may, there's skills that you learn along the way. There's growth opportunities to help shift me into whatever the next gears are going to be, whatever the next year is going to be. It's important to maintain that self-mastery. If I've been able to navigate the past 8 years of my sobriety, I can get through these next 12 months, these next day, just like I did the past year. I'm sure 2021 is going to have its own challenges, but through these practice of beliefs, through these practices of driving my ego out and fulfilling my life with contribution and growth, 2021 sounds like it's going to be an adventure, but I'm going to be here for the ride. It's going to be fun. I hope you're going to be here too with me. I'm having fun doing these shows, and I wanted to let you know why we've been chatting about self-mastery. We have my friend Vanessa, who's doing this self-mastery group, and we had the conversation about it'd be good if we could have a live Zoom interview and a chat. So we're going to be doing that tomorrow morning. Vanessa's group, I put the link up above, or maybe it's in the comments where it's a link to her group. We're going to be chatting there. It's going to be fun. It's first thing tomorrow morning. Her specialty is like self-mastery as a whole, which is amazing. My niche is when it comes to is the adversity, the challenge of recovery, and everything else we talked about related to mindfulness, addiction, and it's a unique experience for all of us. But I'm having fun sharing this, and I hope you are too. If you've enjoyed this, let me know. In the meantime, friends, I'm just going to check to see. We have people watching. Yes, we do. Thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out. I really appreciate that, my friends. In the meantime, I look forward to hearing from you in the future. If this is something you enjoy, let me know. Put the little hearts, put the comments, put the stars. But I look forward to seeing you in another video. All right, my friends, you take care. You have fun. Bye-bye.